Somebody wanted to tempt me this morning. Somebody was...
You are looking king.
So, thank you.
In DMV voice.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
You are looking king.
Thank you.
Body?
Please, this kinky, I don't...
Kinky.
Body, you are looking...
That word is in the dictionary. So.
But please, how you doing? Please don't mind him.
Very well. It's always a good time to be alive, and I'm most grateful that I am here this week again because Sunday over Monday, even up to now, I still feel some pain because Sunday, after I came back from church, I discovered I couldn't walk anymore.
Wow.
It started as a joke. I bent to do something and my back just stived. Like there was a sharp pain that just came, and from there I couldn't walk, I couldn't sit, I just laid down on the floor. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, but thank God I'm here this morning. And I give God praise. God be glorified, I'm alive. So it's always a good time to be alive.
Have you attended to it medically?
Yeah. I've been taking drugs. I have in my house my wife as a pharmacist, so she has been attending to me.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Sorry.
Thank you.
So I hope you're better now.
I'm better. It's just that I still have some pain, but the show must go on as always.
Yeah. Sorry. All right, Abigail, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm fine. Thank God to be alive this morning and to be on set once again.
It's always a good time.
It's always a good.
John, you are looking kunku. How are you doing?
In the voice of Abiodun, thank God for life.
Are you speaking for Abiodun this morning?
In our voice, I'm just trying to make our voice.
Oh, are you missing out on set?
No. We thank God. We always thank God for life. Always thank God for life.
So how is the road this morning?
No, I wasn't home yet last night, so
okay.
I wouldn't know the situation of the that exists, but definitely the traffic is growing every day. People are passed. No,
is it reducing?
Not yet, because the particular portion at which the construction is staged now, so neck area, so everybody must endure till they're able to finish up on those places, both sides of the road. So every day,
I guess the traffic
coming
affected Jeff this morning.
Possibly.
He was supposed to be on set.
Possibly. But one thing that comes from that side of this country we need to do is to add extra hours to the normal hours we spend on the road. So we will have come out so early so that at least 2 hours plus you will have come through the traffic. So those are these, and the stress, the price hike in transportation on that side is much these days. But thank God, I know it will be here soon. So.
Let's hope at the end of this month they should be able to do something about that.
Yes, I also want to mention, I want to also talk about this predicament about his wastes. Sometimes, no, this is a serious matter.
Okay.
Sometimes we need to be careful how we manage our wastes. When you want to pick something, sometimes you just feel you can just bend over yourself like that. Sometimes you can just lock your back. Our bodies, they are very sensitive. Even that is why you have to be careful. Your ankle, your knees, every joint of your body, they are very, very sensitive. So he might try to pick something and he overweights his waist, and that could bring up pain. Or you are trying to carry something that is heavier than your waist or your back.
And I could remember you telling me this last week. You mentioned it last week.
Possibly that you carry that time could have triggered something, but you never noticed. Because it's not something you do often. No, but you have applied more weight on that waist. So you now trying to come back again in that posture could have triggered something and lock up your back. So it's very careful. You have to be very careful.
So please go and watch in my program, Health in Focus. Okay. The topic that I treated, I think, last month, lower back pain. So the doctor explained so much concerning that, so you can watch it. So let's talk about Hilda. I saw in the news this morning that I think an organization in Akwa Ibom has gifted her a plot of land, and you also said
Dana gave her 1 year free tickets, local flights, anyways.
Local flights.
Local flights anywhere she wants to go in Nigeria. So she has 1 year free tickets to travel anywhere she wants to.
And other benefits are still coming. That's what I'm saying. Other benefits are still coming.
There will be benefit from the federal government, from the
she has really done a great feat, and then shaking the whole world.
God.
That was a great steps.
I'm looking for one prayer. I'm looking for that prayer point. Like
actually, you know, she's someone that now have set a record that everybody's looking into, and also. Her getting to this stage of this exploit, it is not in a day. It is not for a lazy man. It is not for a lazy lady. You know, over the years, she has put herself into that practice. She has gone through rigorous pains to endure.
I think about 5 years plan or something. She has started the plan.
She prepared for 5 years.
For 5 years. She has started planning in 5 years ago.
She was bigger in size. She had to go for training, fitness, and she.
That's much of endurance.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's much of endurance.
So I think she did that for 2 years for her to come down to that size we saw, and. She went through rigorous exercises, not eating, standing for hours, just so that she could fit in for that long. At one point, she was about crying.
Yeah, definitely.
At one point, she was about crying. Thank God for Chef Sonny, that's his assistant that was there, always cheering her up, praying for her, come to encourage her. She would just keep up again. You know, when immediately she broke that record. She was happy for almost till she got to 100. Immediately she broke that record.
That's an extra energy.
Yes, she got the strength to do that.
That's the joy of you enduring pain to get to a particular place. You know,
she was just doing it with joy.
At a point, I felt emotional when I saw her praying. When there was a place she was just. I felt emotional.
For we youths of Nigeria, that it is not by you cutting corners. It is even to our politicians.
Go through the process.
It is not by you cutting corners, but put your energy. Do your best. God is also there to crown your effort. You know, when we are praying and praying, God also expects us to take actions. She prayed. I know she would have prayed and prayed and prayed, and yet she still put action. And you can see how God sustained her through those periods. So as it is, as she has done her part physically, God is also there spiritually.
I was opportune to see the 100 and immediately she finished when everybody was shouting, because I think at 99.5 they started singing the national anthem. So after the national anthem, they just count down to 100, and immediately it was 100. She just held her hands and she was giving thanks to God. After which she did that for about 1 minute before she started celebrating. So it's good that she even recognized that
God
the strength wasn't out
from her.
She gave back
not by might
to God. No. And I love the fact that both Christian, Muslim, everybody she united everybody.
See, there is love in Nigeria.
Yes.
There's love, there's unity.
I just pray our leaders will get it right.
The religious
God help our leaders
and all
right.
that.
And our youth, the truth
to know.
All right, let's check what we have on the newspaper front pages for this morning. I have the Nigerian Tribune. Tinubu to open talks with G6 Yari others. Dilemma over Barrow. APC NWC Akpabio. 40 senators elect meet senators. Meet senators, not APC NWC, will decide Akpabio's fate, Adamu tells Stability Group. Not Central yet to speak on NAS zoning. That's from Kwara Governor. APC zoning template unfair to North, negates federal character principle. APC zoning template unfair to North, negates federal character principle. That's from Iyari. Tinubu meets with Kwakwaso in France. You can read those stories on pages 2 and 4 of the Nigerian Tribune. Many escape as gunmen open fire on travelers along Ado-Akure Road. story is on page 29. Gunmen kill 38, sets many houses on fire in Plateau. The story is on page 28. Naira redesign grounded bandit activities in the north. That's from Arewa Youth. The story is on page 5. Seun Kuti arraigned, granted suspended bail. You can read this full story on page 8. Senate approves independent candidacy. Forward bill to Buhari for assent. You can read the story on page 2. NERC to revoke license of Kaduna Disco. Over 51 billion naira energy underpayment. You can read that story on page 6. EFCC operative dies during scuffle with colleagues over suspect seized items. You can read that on page 28. Imagine, EFCC operatives, I think they were having issues over a suspect seized items, and they engaged in physical fight or something, and it's affected one of them and he died. When I heard it from the Yoruba news this morning, I was like, can you imagine what could have been the argument that they can't settle it amicably rather than getting engaged in physical throwing fist and all that. So, oh yeah, you can read the story on page 29. Oyebode Kokori Aṣáájú to Tinubu. How to deliver good leadership, governance. President-elect first agenda should be restructuring. That's from Kokori. You can read the story on page 2. Buhari presidency, a review. So if you want to read the review of Buhari presidency, you can read the reviews on page 13 to page 20 on the Nigerian Tribune. All right, there's a photo news of the National Chairman of All Progressive Chairman, APC, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, the National Secretary, Senator Yola Omishori, leading Senate presidential aspirant, Senator Godswill Akpabio, Deputy Senate President at the APC Secretariat at Abuja on Tuesday. That's all from the Nigerian Tribune.
All right, I have the Punch with me this morning, and then on the headline news, we have strike. Doctors shun talks. Medicals, tourism, gulps, $3 billion in 3 years. Resident doctors reject Ngege's peace moves. Decry health sector's brain drain on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. National Assembly leadership. APC wants Akpabio, Abbas against upset on page 18. And Nigeria needs $12 billion to clean up oil spills. That is report from page, that story is on page 20 of the Punch. Then strengthen anti-graft agencies. FG advises Tinubu on page 20 of the Punch newspaper. And we have, with picture news on the front page of the Punch newspaper, Army rewards 58 soldiers with bicycles, cash, gifts. Well, congratulations to them. And, well, that will also aid them in their movement. And we also have manufacturers threatening shutdown over excise duty hike on page 20 of the Punch. And then we still have the story of Seun Kuti. Court remands Seun Kuti. Police come home for exhibits on page 12. And then lastly on the Punch, we have Anambra. Gunmen kill 2 U.S. consulate officials. 2 cops on page 12. That's all from the Punch this morning.
All right, from me this morning is the Vanguard newspaper, and the biggest news on the headline says FG incurs 36.8 trillion deficit in 8 years under Buhari, and records 32 trillion revenue, spends 68 trillion naira, 77% of deficit incurred in 4 years. That is the biggest news on the front pages of the Vanguard newspaper, and you can read the news on page 19. 10th National Assembly, come early, avoid Saraki-like coup. Adamu tells Akpabio, Barao orders. You can read the news on page 5. Buhari baffled by pervasive level of corruption, says presidency. You can read the news on page 8. Emefiele's Naira redesign curbed terrorism. Arewa youths tell Matawali. You can read that news on page 12. FG establishes 13 metropolitan fire stations across Nigeria. The news is on page 25. Nevia secures 20 billion commercial paper upsize by Ibidapo Lawa. You can read that news on page 20 of the Vanguard newspaper. 4 U.S. embassy staff killed in Anambra. Embassy staff came under attack by gunmen in Ogbaru area of Anambra State. You can read the news on page 6. Assault. Court orders Sheun Kuti's detention. The news is on page 7. Baba Ahmed on page 16. The survival of our political system or even the nation is substantially contingent on how we resolve current election disputes and run the next administrations in a manner that suggests that the struggle for power to govern was to install the rule of law and serve the public. That news is on page 16 by Baba Ahmed. Afe Babalola. It is clear that issues bordering on general policies of governments, such as whether or not to remove petroleum subsidies, are not matters connected with the employment terms of staff in the universities and therefore should not constitute grounds for embarking on strikes. That news is on page 15. And from the world of sport, even as we'll be hearing more from the sports minister himself in the house. Man City versus Real Madrid tonight. Guardiola, we need to play better to beat Real. That news is on page 30. And the picture image on the front page says, induction for governors. We can see the images of the governor of Sokoto, Aminu Tambuwal, former governor of Cross River State, Mr. Donald Duke, 72nd governor of Virginia, U.S., Mr. Terry McAuliffe, secretary to the government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, governor of Oyo State, Sheyi Makinde, immediate past governor of Ekiti State, that's Dr. Kayode Fayemi, and the Lagos State governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, during the Nigeria Governors Forum 2023 induction program for governors at the Presidential Banquet Hall, State House, Abuja. Those are the news on the front pages of the Vanguard newspaper for this morning.
All right, thank you guys for that. Olofela Shehu is standing by to give us sports update for this morning. Good morning, Shehu.
Yeah, good morning. Quick one on the sport roundup this morning. Of course, the latest news about the takeover of Manchester United. Sheikh Jassim bin Ahmad Al Thani has submitted another increased fourth bid to buy Manchester United. Sheikh Jassim renewed offer believed to be close to £5 billion, but shy of the Glazers' family's $6 billion. The Glazers family are requesting for $6 billion valuation, but he has submitted an increased bid of $5 billion. It is yet to be attended to, but it has been submitted and taken in. Of course, the decision still lies with the Glazers family if they are going to sell it to Sheikh Jassim, or they will look for another buyer in that one. Of course, going into Champions League, just like Mode said, Inter Milan have eased their way into the Champions League final with 3-0 aggregate victory over their local rival, AC Milan. Lautaro Martinez goal sealed that win and sealed that victory for them yesterday at San Siro. Of course, in the first leg, don't forget that Inter Milan defeated AC Milan 2-0. And yesterday again, with a goal coming from Lautaro Martinez, after both Martinez and Lukaku were subbed in. Of course, the assist came from Lukaku, and the goal came from Lautaro Martinez, and the goal took them to the final. And of course, today again, the return leg of Manchester City and Real Madrid will take place in the evening, later this evening. Of course, we will know which team will go and meet Inter Milan at the final. Is going to be a great encounter tonight. We know what happened last week when they played 1-1 draw at Bernabeu in Spain. Of course, we'll see what will happen again at the Etihad Stadium in the evening. Of course, people are already tipping Manchester City to take the lead and, of course, be at the final and, of course, probably be the favorite to win the Champions League. But we'll see how it goes later in the evening. Luton deservedly booked their spot in the Championship playoff final after a superb 2-0 second leg win saw them beat Sunderland 3-2 aggregate yesterday. Of course, in their bid to return to Premier League, of course, yesterday they beat Sunderland 2-0 just to overturn what happened in the first leg, and they are hoping to come back to the Premier League. They will be at the Wembley for the final game, the game that will come between Middlesbrough and Coventry today will determine who they are going to meet at the final at Wembley. Of course, whoever emerges will join, will be coming to the Premier League for 2023-2024 season in that one. Of course, in a bid to start the Under-20 World Cup, Colombia encountered an international friendly yesterday. Of course, in the first minutes of the game, Nigeria were trailing to Colombia about 3-1. But in the dead hours, Nigeria came back to draw 3-3 in the preparation for the World Cup that will start this weekend. Of course, the World Cup is starting this weekend, and Nigeria will be having their first game against Dominican Republic on the 21st of May. That will be this weekend. Then their second game will come up on the 24th, and then the last game will be against Brazil on the 27th. It's a good one. They are preparing well, and the result is showing. We hope and we believe that they will replicate what they have been doing over time. And we have been talking about the national team entirely. We hope and we believe they will change the story for us this time around and go very far at the Under-20 World Cup. And finally, Arsenal hold Folarin Balogun snubs Nigeria and England and declares and commits itself to USA. Balogun's international future has been in the balance since he started making waves in the Ligue 1. Of course, he was loaned by Arsenal to Reims, and he has been doing wonderfully well. He has scored up to 20 goals this season in the league, and of course, and attracted so many attention for both England, USA, and Nigeria. But FIFA has already cleared him that he can represent USA for international duty, and he will be ready to join the Yanks to do whatever he wants to do. We wish him all the best of luck in his future endeavor. That's all for me for now.
All right, thank you, Shil, for that. We want to go on the short break now, after which the wise old man, Pastor Solomon, will be giving us wise advice for this morning.
As a Christian, have you been looking forward to visiting Israel and all the historic places mentioned in the Bible? Worry no more, as the Apostolic Church Nigeria Lorna Territory, in conjunction with Unique Pilgrims Travels and Tour International Limited, presents Israel Pilgrimage 2023, which comes up between 5th to 14th July 2023. You will, during the pilgrimage, be able to visit places like Nazareth, Bethlehem, Mount Zion, Mount Olive, Upper Room, Mount of Transfiguration, Elisha's Fountain, and other historic sites. Interested persons can get their registration forms from Lorna Administrative Secretary's office or call this number 080-3328-2670 for further inquiries. Please note that the registration closes on the 31st of May 2023. Don't miss this opportunity, as it's an opportunity of a lifetime. Jesus Christ is Lord.
My children, good morning. Oh, it's a beautiful Wednesday in my village here. Oh, yeah, thank God I'm alive. Oh, and I hope you are thanking God wherever you are right now watching me, because you are alive. If you are not alive, you will not be able to see me. Oh, praise the Lord. I want to welcome you specially to Word of Wisdom segment with Pastor Solomon. The Bible is my watchword. Oh, I don't have any other. And I believe that the Bible is your own watchword. Today is 17th. Oh. If the date is still the same with your own, but with us here it's the 17:5. You see? My children, the word of wisdom that I have for you today, Wednesday, it all begins and ends in your mind. What to give power to has power over you if you allow it. I want to repeat myself. I don't want to confuse you. It all begins and ends in your mind. What you give power to has power over you if you allow it. That is the word of wisdom I have for you today. And I know it is comprehensive enough. Oh. What you give power to has power over you if you allow it. If you give power to negativity, negativity will have power over you. If you give power to failure in your life, failure will always be having power over you. It is what you give power to that has power over you. That is if you allow it. Oh. That is if you allow it. What am I trying to say? It is what you allow in your life that will affect you. It is what you allow in your life that will be controlling you. It is what you give power to in your life that you will be following, because you have already given power to it. And my simple advice for you today, Wednesday, is to give power to positivity in your life. Give power to positive thinking. Some people are so negative in their thinking. Some people, they never had a good thought. Won't I die like this? Won't this sickness kill me? It's like this sickness will kill me. It is like that is not possible. I can't make it. Those are the thoughts. Those are the thoughts that is maneuvering in your mind. Negative thoughts, negative thinking. My child, you are watching me today. You are watching me today. My advice for you, what you give power to has power over you. Oh. You see, you had a relationship that was not palatable. And you are planning to start another relationship. And you're already thinking in your mind that this one will be like the last one. You've already defeated yourself. Oh. You've already defeated yourself. You see, I want you to have a positive mind, especially to yourself. Have a positive mind about your future. Have a positive mind about your goal. If you have starting a business, have positive mind about it. I'm not saying there wouldn't be failure, but that's not the end of life. One way or the other, you fail. But when you fail and you rise again, tomorrow we shall see. So I want to stop like this and make sure that the Bible is your watchword. Because the Bible is my watchword. I remember Solomon. We shall see tomorrow, Thursday. Bye. Oh.
Thank you, the wise old man, for that wise word for this morning. Pastor Solomon said it all begins in your mind. What you give power to will eventually have power over you. So if you give power to negativity, it will surely have power over you. And if you keep on being positive right from your mind, it will have power over you. So think of what you give power to in your mind. All right, talking about today's discussion, we want to talk about something that has to do with marriage and education. So some people believe that, actually I heard somebody saying, some women out there would love to marry a man that is not as educated as they are, so that, you know, maybe somehow they can have power over the man, and they don't want the man to, like, being too educated and all that. But some people believe that no, it doesn't work that way. Some women would prefer to marry a man that is more educated than them. All right, so what do you think about that? Does educational background matters in a relationship, in a marriage? Please call in to give your contribution on this topic. We really love to hear your opinion concerning what we want to discuss today. So, guys, let me direct the question to you. So, does educational qualification does it really affect, does it really matter in a relationship, especially marriage? John?
Does it matter?
I'm just
if you're asking if it matters,
yeah.
Well, it matters, but it is not necessary. Yes, it matters, it is not necessary. You know, education only exposes us to our environment. It helps us to be more exposed to things happening around us, to learn. So let me just quickly put education in this definition, that it helps us to acquire skills and then attitude also to improve our intelligence. So in talking about marriage or partner to choose, does not really matter, because that is not what we sustain in marriage. In the long run, it is not the education that will sustain marriage in the long run. But it also helps in building a better home, and also to create a better future for your children. And it also helps you to get along with the society, people you relate with, and then what you have set for the family, the goals to achieve in that marriage. So to me, it is not really a yardstick for a marriage, for a marriage, but it's necessary. It's something that is not really a necessity. Yes, once you find what you're looking for, and that's your partner. Let me just put it like, let me not model it up.
So a man said that I think his wife is not educated, and he said they bought something and they were, I think, online, and they wanted to return it. Then somebody brought a document and said, okay, because you want to return this, sign this document. And because the woman was not educated, she did not even inform the husband. She signed it, and the man said that was how she sold their house. That, you know, somebody that knew that she was not educated, as I don't know how she was not educated, as brought a document that maybe the house document and all that. So the woman did not know. She signed it and sold the house unknowingly. So the man said if his wife was educated, she would have read through the document before appending her signature, and that was how they lost the house. What do you think about that?
Okay.
It's a two-way thing. Education is actually required in some aspects, and also education is not really required in the aspect, because in marriage, education does not bring about a successful marriage. Because there are some people who are so educated, but they can't sustain, like they can't run a home, both at the aspect of the female side and the male side. And those who are not educated, you see them having successful marriages today. So because, yes, education is needed in marriage, as the example you just mentioned now, but on the other side, to run a home, you need maturity. some people who are not educated, they are more matured in the aspect of marriage than those who are educated. Many people who are educated today, you see them, that's when they will be, it's not all, but just some few, you will see them that they can't be able to run a home, and they end up in divorce. Why most people, looking at the olden times, most of our parents were not educated, and they had a successful marriage. They enjoyed their home. There was no dispute. There was nothing coming up, any issue, so that has to break the home. But today, where we have people educated everywhere, getting married and everything, even though love is required, but you still see that their homes, at the end, they get into divorce at the end of the day. So it's a two-way thing. Education is required in some aspect, but that is not to show that it will sustain the marriage.
Okay, so I just want to get a question for what you have said. You know, some people believe that our mothers then could not live, not that some of them, it's not that some of them were really enjoying the marriage, but because they were not educated. So some people believe they were not empowered, you know, to know what to do. So they can't really go out of it. So they just have to stay till even if they are going through some issues, they just, even though they are going through some challenges, they just have to stay because they were not empowered through education. So what do you take on that?
Yes, you can. I've heard such that most mothers then, because they had no choice, they had to endure whatever they were facing in marriage and everything. Marriage is not the bed of roses. You always have challenges in marriage. It's not left to you to sit in that marriage, to stay in that marriage and sort things out and make sure that the marriage works for you, or it's something that you can endure. And marriage, you need endurance in marriage, because if you say that I can't take what this man is doing to me, and you leave, what do you have to gain at the end of the day? Most divorced people, biblically said, divorce is wrong. Divorce is wrong. Even when someone is educated or not, and so you are not really enjoying your marriage, you just have to endure and pray to God to sort things out for you. So going out, the aspect of not having the education of coming up, speaking out, and ending the marriages, I don't think is acceptable in my own side. You just need endurance. Is one of the things needed to sustain a home, to sustain the marriage.
Okay, so Wode, so what's your take on the topic?
It's a huge one, but for me, I will stand on the ground that education is very, very important. It's pivotal in choosing your life partner, because it is with education you carry out a lot of things, just like the scenario you gave now, that somebody mistakenly or with lack of knowledge signed a document that made them sell their house. That is because there's no education. If there was education, whether formal or informal, because whether I said whether formal or informal would have made us say, okay, let me wait for my husband, or let me inform somebody that could have helped me go through the document, not just appending my signature on the document. So it's very important that whether formal education or informal education, one's partner have it. So education is key, because with education, a lot of things, like she said, like Abigail rightly said, you know, those days our mothers without education, or people without education, they were getting married. But in these days, without education, if you get married, you might soil your home. You might soil your home. How do I mean? Because the way the children of nowadays, the way we train children now is not the same way we train children now. Those days, the way we raise we set up our homes now is not the same way we set up our homes those days. Just like now, we don't beat children anymore. We don't spank, you don't use cane to flog children anymore, because if you do now, but those days, that is just the only way to discipline. The kind of punishment, there's a kind of punishment you give to a child now is child abuse. So we need all of this education around us, and if you are getting married to somebody who is not educated, might actually put you in trouble at the end of the day, might actually endanger your home at the end of the day. So for me, I would like to say education is very, very important, and formal and informal education is very, very important.
Very, very important. But do you think it could actually sustain a marriage? Because I know of somebody who is educated, he has masters and all that, but when you rate his understanding when it comes to marriage, he does not even have primary education. You know, somebody that thinks is educated, is wise, is good at this, but when it comes to, he could not sustain it. He's educated, but his education, his formal education, could not sustain the marriage. So don't think being educated marriage-wise, and you see some men, they are not even educated and even primary, but they know how to sustain the marriage. So what do you think is the difference?
It has often, in our climate here, it has often been proven that the marriages that last longer from the uneducated people. I don't think there's statistic for that anyway, but most people usually often say that the marriages that last more is from those people who are not educated. So education is not a yardstick for a lasting home, for a home that sustains. But what education will do for you, it will make you leverage. It will help your children also in bringing up your children. Imagine maybe somebody who is educated and is not wealthy or is not rich enough to send the children to a private school, and they are attending speak Yoruba, and they still come back home to parents who speak their local dialect. Let me not say Yoruba.
Local dialect, yes.
Who speak their local dialect. It affects those children in communicating with the children out there. So it's with education you can actually set your children on the right pedestal. I'm saying this because most of our government schools, what they teach them, they don't teach them proper English. So when they get out there, communication will be hard. For me, growing up, I had that issue communicating. It wasn't as if I speak pidgin English with my dad when he was alive. I speak Yoruba with my mom. So and I lived in a barracks. So there was no way I could compose a very good English, and so when I get to a place where people are talking, I just sit down and I fold my hand, and when they ask me questions, I just
nod your head.
You know, because our esteem was low. My esteem then was very low. So education, it is from home these children start learning that, okay, my parents said this, my parents said that, and okay, education about this is what you should do, this is what not to do. It is from home they start learning, and they carry it out when they get to school. The school too builds on what they already know. It's not just that they just come to school and you expect the school to impact all the knowledge the children want. I'm speaking from the angle of the children now. So, okay. But the long and short of like the question you asked, education is not enough to sustain the home. What sustains the home is not education. I think level of love is what sustains the home.
Compatibility.
And how do I put it? Commitment to your spouse is part of those things that sustain you. Is not education. Education just opens you up to some things you should do and what you should know.
Okay. Okay. Do you want to say something?
Yes, to add to what Bodea said.
Okay.
Looking at the aspect of being an educated parent and being an uneducated parent, we have uneducated parents that are smarter and more intelligent in running their homes than those who are educated. I have an example of someone who, she's not educated. She does not even know how to speak English, or she does not hear English. She only speaks her indigenous language. And I was surprised what she did, what I saw her doing to her son. You know, she has an Android phone quite all right. We have uneducated people who also operate Android phone.
Yes.
And the funny thing is, she downloaded cartoon on her phone for her son, and this cartoon, English is spoken there. She can't speak English, but her dialect, and she was smart enough to know that my son needs to speak. If I can't speak English, my son should be able to speak English. And she downloaded that cartoon that has English, that is being spoken in English on her phone, and she gave it to her son to watch, I was wowed. I was amazed. I was like, wow, this is actually a smart lady. She didn't have the opportunity to be educated, but she wants her
the importance
son.
of
She knows the
education.
importance, and she wants her son to be educated. So the other educated parents also do that for their parents. But I want to just bring out the notion that there are still uneducated people that train up their children, even though they are not educated. They want their own children to be educated, even though in the little way they can, they carry out that duty of making sure their children are also educated
That's
and
that's
running
what
the home.
I said formal and informal education. So it is important we pick up the informal education from our surroundings. You see somebody, maybe information to get from your words teachers that say, okay, download this kind of thing, or a friend just tell you need to pick. And we need to be careful to the cartoons we download. She might have thought she has done the right thing by downloading the right cartoon, but the cartoon is only by education. If you are educated enough that you can see that, oh, this cartoon is not so good for my child to see. She might have done, okay, the necessary, okay, everybody's downloading cartoon, I have an Android phone, why not just download this cartoon? But the cartoon it is only by formal education
that you understand what is being said
in that cartoon.
Okay, so I want us to deviate a little from the children aspect, and let's talk about some women who believe that the level of respect they give to their husband from the angle of the female, the wives now, they give to their husband is based on the education level. So some people believe that the headship, it matters a lot. You accept the headship, you believe is the head of the family, but don't give him the respect based on the qualification. But some people believe that, no, he's not as educated as I am, so he doesn't deserve, that's so women are like that. So what's your reaction to that?
Well, I want to believe that is just about ego. That's just all about ego. If some woman could believe that because I'm more educated than my husband, we are equal, he has to respect me for what I have acquired in my education. Well, that, like we said, it will never sustain that marriage, because a man will always be a man. And education, what education should have done to us, or what education is aimed in doing to us, is to make us acquire more knowledge, skills, and attitude. And as much as we know that even those that have acquired more degrees, they lost that attitude, because at the end, when it comes to marriage, ego comes in. I have acquired this, I have these degrees, I have these PhD holders, and those things come into their head, and they lost it in the home front. So I have not said education is not good, but how do we apply it? Education is meant for us to apply the right attitude at the right time, to apply the right knowledge at the right time. We have seen partners that even at their maybe just O level, they are better than those who have degrees, who have backed in degrees in attitude, in applying senses to what to the environment, to whatever confronted them. I want to go back to the example you cited. I want to fault the husband, because you know the level of your wife. You shouldn't have exposed her to such danger. At least she has a limit at that particular time. Okay, if there's any document at all you need to sign, wait for me. It's an instruction. Or for that, you will have done a best for her to give her a home education. We have people who are hired teachers for their wives to get better if their level of education is not. You have to work on it. You have to bring her or him to your level. It is for the betterment of the marriage. Because when you have a higher degree than your partner, and you are not trying to pull your partner to that level, it will definitely affect.
That's it. That's the angle I'm coming from, because one of them will feel low, like self-esteem, low self-esteem. When the other partner is talking, because you are not as educated as your spouse, you feel less important, and the low self-esteem comes in and you keep quiet, even when you needed to, give your own opinion on the matter.
That's why I said the whoever that is of the higher side of education qualification should make sure it is not a competitive lane. both of them have to come to the same level. So they must strive to bring themselves together in that to same level. But if the ego is there now and say no, it's now become a competition in the marriage, then that marriage will not last. And that's why I said in my initial opening that education is not that necessary to sustain a marriage. Now, the understanding have to be, okay, this is my partner's education level. Okay, both of us, we have to strive to get, so you must equip yourself. What you are doing is not about competition. It's about how you want to make the marriage better, your children coming, how you want to sustain the home. So that should be the aim, that should be the focus. And if you know that, okay, this is the limit of my partner, you also have to, is either you come down or you bring the partner to your level. And if there are some things, you know that, okay, if she go ahead or if he go ahead to do this and that, I have to always be there. I'm still going back to that example you cited. The husband will, okay, when it comes to this, don't go there. Just wait for me. I will do that. It's as simple as that. But now you now expose her to that danger. So you should be at fault. You should take that responsibility. Because if you have instructed her that, okay, when it comes to this or that, make sure I am there. Wait for me. Ask instruction for me. If you need to go ahead on my behalf, I will tell you to do that. But now, she went ahead and does that, thinking she's helping the husband. And at the end, it affected the family. So for that scenario, I will have the husband to blame. So both of them, both partners must almost strive together to come to the same level to achieve what they have set for their marriage. So
Abigail, yes. I want you to like a man and let me use maybe illiterate, someone that is not as educated. Maybe the guy met a lady who is more educated than he is and he wants to go ahead and all that. So if he comes to you for another, what would you say?
Well, as I said at the starting of the discussion, education is not, either being educated or not, does not guarantee that it's a successful marriage. So
you tell him to go ahead?
So yes, go ahead in the aspect that, or in the condition that one is matured enough. He knows what it takes to be a husband, his duties, his roles, everything he needs to do. Because if he's educated and he does not have all these things, it's zero. But even if he's not educated and he still have all these qualities of sustaining the home or sustaining the marriage, why not we go ahead? All right.
We don't really have much time.
Yeah, I know.
In 1 minute.
I think I've shared here before about a lady who is more educated than
the husband.
They were not even married.
Okay.
Or they didn't even eventually get married because the guy felt intimidated by the degree of the wife. The guy was just, I think, HND or OND holder, and the girl is already doing a doctorate.
That's a bit far.
So all right. The guy's family. Sorry.
But we are out of time. We are out of time. So for me, education is important. Education is important, even if you are not educated at the point of meeting your spouse and you notice that he or she is. I just try to be educated as your partner. All right, this is how far we can go on today's episode of Morning Delight. We'll be giving you the repeat broadcast at 10 p.m., then fresh episode tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Do have a wonderful day. Bye for now.